Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight, and my guest tonight he's an independent British filmmaker, Gabriel Foster Pryor. How's it going, Gabriel?
Good evening. Yeah, it's going good. 7:30 here in the UK on Sunday evening, so I think it's like 2:30 where you are, right?
Yep, 2:30 right across the pond.
I actually don't know where you are. Where are you?
um, I'm outside of Cincinnati in Ohio.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm originally from California, but I live outside of Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
I just checked out your independent sci-fi British film, The Bystanders. I thought it was a pretty fun film. It kind of reminded me of between Doctor Who and the Adjustment Bureau.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I can see that. I actually haven't seen the Adjustment Bureau, but it's been mentioned in a couple of reviews, so I should watch it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I should watch it or shouldn't watch it, but that is a kind of thing, isn't there, when you have a film that has a similar concept to something you've either done or are doing. I think once you're done, you can watch the thing. I think maybe when you're doing, you're scared to watch it in case it's too similar, and I don't know. It could go two ways. It could be really good, and then you're like, "Oh, damn, someone's already nailed this. What am I doing?" Or it could be really bad and make you not like your own concept. So you're kind of scared to watch things that are the same concept as your film. Although I think it is, different probably as well. Like, I think it's quite different, but it's the idea that they basically, the bystanders is they're like guardian angels. Everyone has one, but you do get to see the kind of the institution and the workings of the world of how they all operate, which I guess is similar to Adjustment Bureau. You tell me, you've seen it, right? Have you seen it? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen it. It reminds me a little bit of Adjustment Bureau. It also reminds me a little bit about The Office, because, the bystanders, they're in an alternate universe, and I love it how, they have normal lives over there, talk about, their subjects are watching over on Earth, and I love the certain one-liners and jokes. It feels like you're also watching them by listening to them by a water cooler in the office.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was deliberate, but it makes a lot of sense because the UK office, at least, is, I would say one of the best, one of what I think is one of the best, TV comedy series. And I know my co-writer Jack Hughes is also a big fan. So I think, even if you're not consciously referencing something in your work, if the things you like, end up being tonally similar to what you make because you're trying to make something that you would like yourself, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree with you on that. And where'd you film that pub scene? I love the pub scene where all the bystanders, take a break from watching over to their subjects. And then I loved the visual effects of all the drinks you're drinking with the suds and bubbles and the interesting drinks.
The pub, so it's a very independent film, very low budget film, micro budget. Or very low budget, maybe not micro budget, but it depends on the definition. It's like different in different places, but it relied a lot on the kind of goodwill of people, as you've probably heard a lot from other independent filmmakers. Same kind of story. So yes, there was a guy called Mehmet who runs a pub in London. It's a really cool pub. It's called the Blackstock Pub. It's right by Finsbury Park Station. If anyone's in London, you should go and check it out. It's really cool. Mehmet is a really, really nice guy, and he let us film there before they opened a few days, and he was really supportive, and he was really interested in what we were doing. So we had a pub to kind of use as our set for those scenes. And then in terms of the drinks, we had a production designer, Carlotta, doing that. Work, and it was basically it was lockdown, and I was watching, like, as you do, like doom scrolling Instagram, and a video came up, which was, it was actually aimed for parents, not for me really, but it was aimed for parents, and it was how to make a lava lamp for your kids at home using stuff you've got left over in your kitchen. And I've been working, like, thinking about how we were going to do these drinks, and I saw this, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think that's how we do the drink. So it's basically like vegetable oil and Alka-Seltzer and coloured dye, and you basically combine these ingredients in a way that creates a kind of like a homemade lava lamp, and that's how we made these kind of weird drinks. But then we also had to make doubles that were edible for the cast, so they could actually take sips of it. So occasionally you swap to the ones that look less cool, but you can actually take sips from. But mainly it's these kind of weird concoctions of oil and food, and that's how we did it. We did it with those, and we also filmed it with these things called probe lenses, which basically they used them a lot in like adverts to get like close-up shots of products. So, like, those shots like the Burger King ad where the beef patty falls down onto the lettuce, and you see the little, those kind of like ultra close-up shots where you get right in there. We did that for the drinks a bit as well. We also used that probe lens for the chest scene at the end, where you get those big close-ups of the chest pieces. So it's quite a cool piece of kit that we took advantage of. But yeah, that's how we did those shots.
The cool thing about your film is I love how you did practical effects, and I also love the hand-drawn teleporting effects where they're teleporting from place to place. I like the hand-drawn special effects where it looks like they're getting ready to teleport away.
Wicked. Oh, it's really cool that you like that. I think, yeah, they're the thing that people most like comment on to me afterwards. They're also the thing that the only negative comment I had from like in real life, a person after one of the screenings came up to me. It was actually the premiere at the Austin Film Festival, and this guy was like, "It's going to be even better once you finish those special effects." And I was like, "No, that's it. It's like it's got this handmade, like that's just part of the aesthetic. That's what we're going for." And he's like, "Gosh, really? Is that what you're doing?" I was like, "Yeah." So, but yeah, no, we thought that, like, if we were going to do like standard VFX, like comping VFX for like, for teleporting with a kind of CGI essentially, the worry was that with our budget and everything, it would just look like a kind of slightly less good version of like a Marvel effect, and you never want to be the kind of the knockoff version of something else, So we wanted to do something that was like idiosyncratic, and me and Jack Hughes, the co-writer, we used to make videos together when we were younger, like when we were teenagers. And one of the things we used to do was this rotoscoping technique. We used to do it for like short films and stuff that we would make when we were younger. And it just involves like you print out. First of all, you turn the video into an image sequence. So you get a video, and then you convert that video into a series of still images, and then you make printouts. Like you physically print out every single frame as an image, and you plot points on the image where you want to do your paint or your swirls, and then you like literally paint onto the paper. So we were, my flat in London at the time, Jack would come over, and it was me and him working on it together. And my flat was like every room was every inch of floor was covered with printouts of the frames that needed these swirls, and with paint brushes everywhere. And then you let it all dry, and you scan it back in, and then you turn it back into a video. So that's how we did the rotoscope swirls.
Yeah, the film starts off about Peter, who was a former child, prodigy, winning all these awards and everything, and then finally, he gets drawn into becoming a bystander, where he meets Frank, which is played by Sean Walsh. And the cool thing about that, between their interaction, I love how he made him watch that out of tuning video introduction, How to Be a Bystander. That was so hilarious.
That's something I like. I like myself as well. That's the actor who's in that, Marek Larwood. I think is a bit of a genius. He's like hilarious, and he's a really good actor, and he has this presence, and you know that cliche that you could, you know, give him the phone book and he could read out the names and it would be funny. I think, you know, Marek's like literally, you could give him any words and he could say them and make them funny. Like he has that kind of talent. But we kind of wrote his part with him in mind. And one thing that he does himself, his own projects, is like he does these kind of. I've seen him in the past do these kind of fake tutorial videos, and they were really funny. So we knew he'd be really good at that. So, and it was a kind of a way of doing a bit of a exposition dump, but like in a more creative way. Kind of like at the beginning of Jurassic Park, where they would just sit and watch a video. So that was just a good way of taking off a lot of information, you know. And then we did it in the style of basically, I was born in 86, so I was at school in the 90s, and they still were using 80s videos to show us when we were at school. So the videos that I had when I was at school were these weird 80s videos, and they used them for like health and safety and for sex education and science documentaries, whatever. So we were kind of going with that kind of style, and we actually rented VHS cameras. So again, I like, you know, trying to do it a little bit more hands-on rather than like post effects, like computer effects, you know. So we actually we didn't apply video effects. We actually rented video cameras and filmed it all on VHS, which I think kind of you can tell. I think, and it kind of gives it that like slightly authentic dated video feeling.
I think so too, and that's why I like the authenticity about that video and all that. Now let's go back to Sean Walsh, you know, who plays Frank. He reminds me of a young Alan Rickman. He kind of reminds me of Alan Rickman / with the attitude of Dan Fielding from Night Court.
He'd love that. He loves Alan Rickman. It's so weird. He absolutely loves Alan Rickman. And then when we did the world premiere at the Austin Film Festival, 3 people completely independently came up to me and talked about the film, and they all said he reminds me of Alan Rickman. And I told him after the first one, and he was like, "That's mad. He didn't, you know, wouldn't expect that comment." And then it happened 2 other times. He was like, he found it really weird. But it's definitely a compliment because Alan Rickman's obviously, you know, one of the greats. So, but yeah, I think he did tell me one bit of acting technique that he actually got from an interview with Alan Rickman, which was about listening, because you know there's always this focus with acting, and when you're teaching acting, when you go to acting school, if you read acting books, everyone's it's all about listening. You've got to be listening, and then they give you workshops to be you've got to be listening, you've got to be paying attention to the other actor, don't just say your lines. And that is all true, and that's also a way of avoiding bad acting when you're not present. It's a way of encouraging people being present in the moment. But at the same time, what Alan Rickman said, which Sean took on board, was most of the time we don't really care about what the other person's saying. We're all kind of self-centered narcissists, and especially a character like Sean's character in the film, Frank. He especially is that type of guy. So he said that he took from Alan Rickman to actually, not really be giving a crap what anyone else is saying when he's listening. So he is present in the scene and listening to what the other person's saying, also not caring about what the other person's saying. And I think that helps to flesh out his character, that choice that he was inspired by Alan Rickman from. But he certainly, that was a small thing. So I think that was still very surprising to get that comparison. But he's kind of, I don't know, I mean, as how many people in the US would know, but he's a big stand-up comedian in the UK. And his persona on stage is not dissimilar from the character in the film. So he himself is not like the character, but his persona, especially in the past when he was younger, he always used to play this kind of misanthropic, kind of fed up and slightly self-serving guy in his act, so I think that it was something that he again, we kind of I think he's a really good actor, so I really wanted him in the film, so I always hoped that he would do it, so I had him in mind when we were writing it, so it was kind of it was kind of built for him, I guess.
I think so too, because when he did his character, because I thought he was method acting a little bit too, and the mannerisms he does and the attitude, it kind of reminds me of John Larroquette's character, Dan Fielding, because if you watch Dan Fielding on Night Court and everything, he has that same attitude where he doesn't like anything and doesn't like people and just like gets bored of stuff easily and just puts people down. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Dan Fielding in them too, so.
Yeah.
He should get it. He should get it.
I guess it's kind of archetypal. I guess it's this weird. It's one weird thing about like low budget films. I don't think I've said this to the other podcast or anything else, but there was actually a seed that there was actually a seed towards the end of the film that I wanted to give too many spoilers. There was a bit more redemptive for his character, and we didn't get to film that because of production problems. It was basically it took place in the Arctic cabin. That shot you have in the Arctic cabin.
Yeah.
So that's not really Sean. That's actually someone wearing a wig. Because we couldn't get Sean on that day, so we had to film a shot that just showed he was missing his friend and showed him in the Arctic cabin. But we couldn't do the whole scene that we had planned because we couldn't get Sean for that day. So that's another actor wearing a wig in that shot. But in the scene that we were going to shoot that day, there's a more redemptive kind of moment for that character. And I think it would have maybe been slightly more satisfying in a kind of film sense. But at the same time, I think it might be more realistic how it is in the final film, because I don't know if people really do, have these redemptions all the time. I think mainly people just stay how they are.
Yeah, I love the chemistry between the characters Frank and Peter, how they built like this tight friendship, and then all of a sudden it started going sour when they decided to switch places with their subjects. And how friendship gets a little bit of jealousy and a little hate, because, when Peter, took over Luke, which Luke is my favorite character in that movie. He just cracks me up how he plays a lazy guy that likes video games, but he does finally redeem himself. I just like the I like how Frank and Peter play off of each other, starting off as friends, then hating each other, and then finally, realizing you can't survive with each other, and then like you said about earning redemption. Sometimes friendships don't work like that in the end.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, that I don't, again, without wanting to do any
spoilers.
I mean, that's kind of when you get towards the end, you do that was the main thing we wanted to kind of play with, and that kind of final third of the film was are they gonna essentially are they gonna let these essentially their own personality flaws or whatever, their own kind of who they are kind of getting in the way of their friendship? Are they gonna let that actually stop them being friends, or are they just gonna sort it out? So yeah, I guess that was kind of a lot of the theme, one of the main themes of the film, I guess, was this kind of male friendship. And I guess it doesn't have to be male, just friendship in general. And when you do know someone really well, and it starts to become a bit more like a sibling, and it starts to become a bit more like you can be it can cause there can be cause problems just spending all your time with one person or spending lots of time with one person.
Let's talk about the costumes. They kind of remind me of space cop costumes, and I love the certain original unique names on each of the characters on their outfit, like Legend, and they have all these quirky names, which is pretty cool. Who made those costumes? They look like space cop costumes.
Art director and costume designer Heidi Heels. Heidi's really cool. She's in bands and she DJs and she also does she like makes clothes and she does loads of different things. Renaissance woman, so it was really cool to have her working on the film, and she brought her kind of some of her kind of personality, I feel, is in the film as well, with that kind of slightly punky style. But yeah, the coats were kind of there again with the element. There's an element of it being a independent film where you do have to go like, what can we do, what can't we do, and we were kind of originally going down the road of trench coats, which is a little bit more trodden turf. I mean, my thinking on that was like I kind of wanted it to be like Wings of Desire, the Bystanders film, but like a kind of stoner comedy version of that. So obviously in Wings of Desire, because our angels, I call them angels, not really angels, but it's the best way to like shorthand describe them, because everyone has one and they look after us or they don't. But yeah, they're not going to have wings, they're not going to have halos. We knew we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to go down that road. So yeah, my next thought was like trench coats to be a bit like the angels in Wings of Desire. And it was just going to be more expensive to do trench coats, and we ended up doing these things called commuter coats, which are like these 60s coats that people used to wear like going from home to the office, because they're kind of semi-smart, but they're also like waterproof and stuff. And actually I think it's better, because I think trench coats have been done in so many different things that you end up like thinking of other things rather than it being its own thing. So like it could be a bit Matrixy, it could be a bit I don't know, it might have been a bit, I don't know, like for example what they wear in Adjustment Bureau, but I wouldn't be surprised if they wear trench coats in that. But, it's like to me it feels like the most trodden turf kind of choice for this kind of thing. So I'm not that upset that we didn't get trench coats, but yeah, there's a lot that I guess for me, like that was one of the main like areas that I hadn't spent that much time doing in my life. It's like costume and this is like my first feature film as a director, so that was one area where I really did learn a lot on the job, was coming up with all the costumes and stuff, and you get really into it, so we had a really good time like in the build up, like designing and finding solutions to actually make it work with these coats and other like elements to build the world.
Yeah, Wings of Desire, which you mentioned, is actually a good movie. I just picked that up from the Criterion collection for my physical media library. That is
nice.
Such a great film, and now I know where they got the idea from City of Angels with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. They got that inspiration from Wings of Desire. Wings of Desire was a very powerful drama, and it also had the love between the angel and that singer-dancer, pretty young lady. That's such a great movie.
Yeah, I love it, and co-writer of Bystanders, Jack, really likes it as well. So yeah, that was a big inspiration for us. Like tonally, very different, but in terms of we wanted to reference it and homage it in different places because we both love that movie so much. So the main thing that comes from Wings of Desire into the Bystanders that we took is the mixing of black and white and colour. Yes. So in Wings of Desire, the angel world is in black and white, and then when he kind of moves into the human world, it goes
colour.
To colour.
Mm-hmm.
So originally in the script, we had that same system. So we had angel world, or bystander world in our case, in black and white, and the human world in colour. And then as we got into pre-production, there were so many elements of the bystanders world that we wanted to explore the colours, and we wanted it, like we had ideas of like interesting colour palettes that were kind of that were not like naturalistic, that were magic realism and kind of expressive, and all this. And it was like we wanted to do that, so we switched the system around, and we had the human world in black and white, and we had the bystanders world in colour. And then in Wings of Desire, they also like, it's not really cutting between black and white and colour that much. It's more that it's a transition that happens at some point in the film like when he goes to the trailer outside of the circus.
Yeah, where the young girl is at. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it kind of switches, or does it even happen when she's doing the aerial act beforehand?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, and in our film, it's more of a thing that happens like kind of constantly once you get into the meat of the film, which is cutting like back and forth between color and black and white as a way of signaling to the audience, okay, now we're in the Bystander world, now we're in the human world. And we were kind of like worried, was that going to be jarring? So we did a test. We filmed a test scene, and we edited it with the mix of the black and white and the color. And we found that if you balance the contrast, like so the black and the white are the same level, the fact that it's switching between black and white and color, at like maybe the first couple of times you do kind of really overtly kind of notice it, but after a while you just it's amazing how quickly we adapt, like our kind of, you know, our the way we process things, the way we watch things. It always amazes me how quickly we just go, okay, and that's what this is, and you just, you know, you get used to it so quickly. So I don't know, I think it doesn't jar, and people have told me that they don't, like, once they get into watching it, they don't even notice the two kind of things. But yeah, I'm glad we did that, because I think it gives it something, again, like just a little bit idiosyncratic, a little bit like different, you know, which is I think a good thing. Yeah,
it's great because it also, like I said, it also reminds me of City of Angels with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. It's like the same premise, you know, from Wings of Desire. But anyways, let's talk about the music score. I love that 50s sci-fi music vibe to the film. It feels like I'm watching like a late night sci-fi creature feature. You know how they play the music, you know, it sounds like a UFO type of music. Who did that?
So the composer, Foz Foster, he's my dad, actually. So he plays guitar in bands, but he also does like music for theatre shows. And he's done music for my short films when I make direct short films. He's done some music for other films as well. So yeah, I always work with him when I make films. I always get my dad to do the music. And I think, to be honest, I think the score is like the main thing that like makes it feel like a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because I don't think me and the other writer Jack, I don't think we talked about it as a sci-fi that much. We talked about it a bit. Like I remember us at one point watching or rewatching Men in Black because it had a similar structure to what we were going for with the mentor and the newbie and the kind of, you know, entering this world and discovering that there's this whole world that you didn't know about behind the curtain, you know. So there was some kind of sci-fi influences, but yeah, we've always thought about it more as a kind of quirky concept comedy more than as a sci-fi. But the visuals, the colors, I think are quite sci-fi. But I think the thing that really makes it feel sci-fi is the score, and it's a lot of like boxes, like strange like boxes that make different sounds and do different things. There's like thereman.
Yeah.
There's musical saw. There's actually like an article online. It's like the British Comedy Guide. And we did a article about like how we made the Bystanders, and there's like a few paragraphs from me, there's a few paragraphs from my producer Louisa Riviere, there's a few paragraphs from Andy Jassy who plays Luke, and then there's also a few paragraphs from Foz who did the score, and he lists like a load of the instruments that he used. So if there's anyone that is interested in the specifics of the instruments used, that's on that article.
So, do you ever think you'll ever do a sequel to this to see what happens with Frank and Peter next? Will there ever be a Bystanders 2?
I don't think that there would be, but I did, just because we did the festival tour for like a year. We had loads of Q&As, so we ended up like in the Q&As, but also when you go to the pub and talk to people afterwards or whatever, it's something that came up. and people ask you that question, so you think about it. And then over the year of doing the festivals and being asked the question and talking about it, I like accidentally kind of came up with a synopsis for this like sequel. So I know what it would be, which is basically one of the characters. I'll tell you in some kind of like, you know, again, spoiler-free code, but like one of the characters who gets into politics at the end, right?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine if he really does like become the mayor of London, and then what you would have, what I like about it is that you would have it would all be set in the world of British politics.
That'd be funny.
I think it'd be funny because basically the kind of idea of Bystanders is that the angels, as you were, that are looking after us, are actually really like bad at their jobs, right?
Yeah.
So they're really irresponsible. They're just getting drunk, or they're just like they're lazy. They don't actually like they don't care about whether or not we're doing well or not.
Yeah.
It's just like it exists as quite a good, you know, metaphor for the current British political establishment, right? So you could kind of have layers of it, right? You could have the humans who are being kind of looked after by the politicians, who are kind of being looked after by the guardian angels, and no one is actually caring about the job they're doing, looking after the people below them. So it's a kind of you know, a millefeuille of ineptitude, you know. And I think that's what we would do, is it'd be focused on. And as you said, like I love Andy Jassy, who played Luke. I think he really kind of like we expanded that role because he was, you know, really funny, and you know I love what he did with that character. So I'd want to like, you know, have him be in the sequel, and I'd want to have him be the mayor of London in a kind of, you know, Boris Johnson type figure, you know, scruffy hair, it's kind of bumbling.
And it'll be so funny if you make Luke's character like the mayor, you know, over in like, you know, like in London. You would also have to have him like have a couple mascots.
Yeah.
The powerful world of social media. I'm just gonna leave it like that.
Well, the thing was, because we wrote it, and this might be spoilers, but whatever. When we wrote it, the idea of someone going from being a YouTuber to running for mayor,
yeah,
we were at the time we wrote it, we were like, is that a bit far fetched? And we're like, oh, whatever, it's fine. You know, it's fine for our kind of, you know, our silly comedy film is fine. But then in the time it took to actually make the film and release the film, then there really have been YouTubers running for mayor and getting quite close. So it really doesn't seem as far-fetched now as it did at the time when we wrote it. Like, that could totally happen in the next few years, that a YouTuber could actually become mayor of London. You know, it could happen.
I totally too. Is there any other projects you're going to be doing next?
So I've got two new scripts, basically. One I'm doing on my own, and another one I'm doing with Jack. And they're kind of, you know, they're like pretty much like written, but they're, you know, one of them is pretty much written, the other one's currently being written. And then it's a case of like trying to get financing and all that kind of stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
No, because with Bystanders, we didn't manage to really get any kind of financing. We kind of ended up just like saving up from our day jobs, which is, for me, is like editing films, and the producer Louisa Riviere is a costume department supervisor. So we work in film, but we're not like, you know, I'm not like working full time as a director, and she wasn't working full time as a producer. So this was kind of our side hustle, but we did it all very much kind of like did it ourselves with a bit of support from different people, but like mainly doing it ourselves. I remember actually like applying for like one of the film funding schemes here in the UK, Film London, who like specialise in films that are being shot in London, and they had a scheme, and it was a low budget, you know, specifically micro budget even scheme, where you had to apply, and we applied. We made this video, and then we sent the video, and they gave us really nice feedback. They really liked the project, but they said there's absolutely no way you can make this. They said this is a high budget film. There's no way you can make this with them as a micro budget film with what we have available. And then we did it anyway. We did it ourselves. We did it for half the amount of money that they were offering. So I might go back to them and I don't know how to say that to them without being sound like I'm just I don't know, being arrogant or something. But I want to try and it's a difficult one because I don't want to underplay the film in the sense that, you know, constantly talk about it's low budget and everything. But I think in that sense we're quite proud of what we achieved, and the fact that we've got to the film festivals we've got to and won the awards and managed to get good reviews in proper film magazines here in the UK and stuff. And we've done that all with a very kind of small budget. So we're very proud of ourselves in that kind of regard. And we want to do it again, but we don't want to. It takes so much out of you to just really just do it all yourself. So I think we need a bit of support this next time round. But I'm super happy to do another low budget film, even very low budget film. But I would want I think I need some institution or production company or something kind of supporting really. So I'm hoping that someone can see what we achieved with the Bystanders and kind of come aboard and collaborate with us on a new one. That's what I'm hoping. So it's I need to find those people. So yeah, if you have any either successful film producer friends or really rich friends, let me know.
Oh, I definitely will. So where can everybody find you on social media to see what you're doing next? And also, is the Bystanders, is it going to be on a physical media over in the UK only, or is it going to be, will we be able to get it over here in the States too if it ever goes to physical media?
I'd like to do physical media. I'm not sure. There's been talk about it, and it's it depends on there's some financial aspects to whether or not they can actually do it.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I always really like physical media. But they're definitely going to put it on online, to rent and buy soon. So
cool.
Rent and buy in the next few months. I'm not sure where exactly, so I don't want to say, so I don't want to get it wrong. But it probably the places you expect, And yeah, we have social media. If you want to follow the film, it's at the Bystanders Film on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. And then my personal Instagram is my full name, which is Gabriel Foster Pryor. And I post some film stuff on there as well with what I'm up to and whatever. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me about your Indie Sci-Fi film of The Bystanders.
Thanks for having me, man. It's really cool to have a platform to talk about films. So yeah, thanks for doing this, and it's cool what you do and supporting indie filmmakers. Thank you on behalf of all of us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And everybody have a great evening.